You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Oh, let me tell you something. I am so sick of Washington and all its works and all them politicians down there and them congressmen. I'll bet you won't find none of them congressmen signing down their electric blankets tonight. Because if they did, their secretaries would get up and go home.
We gotta do something.
Absolutely.
You know what we gotta do?
Toga party. Toga! 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 Click, click, boom! I'm coming down on the stereo, baby on the radio. Click, click, boom!
I want you to kill every golfer on the course.
Check me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but if I kill all the golfers, they're gonna lock me up and throw away the key.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh?
Friday! Friday! Friday!
Good evening, folks. I am Rick Robinson, one half of the crew here on the Robinson and Wright Show. Happy Friday night. We are live right here on KLRNradio.com. So for those of you who've seen the tweets, we do have some guests joining us this evening, but we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to do the first hour business as usual. Then I'm going to kick Dan out of the studio and bring in the guests. Kind of, sort of. Anyway, so we've got a big show for you tonight. Lots of things to talk about. You guys may have noticed that last week I did a show by myself. Apparently you guys like it when I scream, yell, and cuss because I got lots of compliments on that show. I don't know why. So you're telling me you don't like it when I behave. This is not a good sign. Just saying. Anyway, so yeah, Dan wasn't with us last week. I actually was going to do an off the rails, and then I just decided to do kind of an off the cuff thing and figured I could do that over here better than I could do that over there, since I never know when that one might get pulled for terrestrial. The last thing I want to get is an angry letter from a station manager that says, "Hey, we pulled your show from the other day, and it's a good thing we had the 7-second delay because we had to bleep the crap out of it." I'm like, sorry. Anyway, so Dan's back with us tonight. Good evening, sir. How are you?
So what the fuck did you do last week?
Basically that, over and over again.
Yeah, I'm back. Had a little a problem here at home, but that's over with. I'm here. Just talking to Rick before we went on the air. Just did the big old breakfast for dinner meal. So I'm all fat and happy right now and ready to rant.
So complete aside, you know, feedback from listeners is appreciated if you agree. But is it me, or does dinner for breakfast taste better than breakfast for breakfast?
It does. Dinner for breakfast is, we do it typically at least a once every couple weeks. And I, as Rick knows and many of the listeners know because they kind of know me, I'm not a complete glutard. I'm not completely gluten-free, but I am allergic to wheat. Baby. So I make some incredible wheat-free pancakes, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. You know, it's not like I can just go out and buy the buttermilk pancake mix and throw some water in it and mix it up and throw it on the griddle. I actually have to make them, you know, with like the right flour and butter and eggs and everything else. I got to do the whole thing, buttermilk. But I made buttermilk pancakes tonight, and they were awesome. And everybody pretty much says they're better than most pancakes. So
I don't believe.
They are. They're freaking great.
So what flour do you use, since you don't use wheat flour?
It is rice flour and tapioca flour.
So basically you had pudding pancakes.
No. Tapioca flour is used in a lot of baking, Rick.
Okay, so I'm just saying, by the time you were done, you basically made rice pudding, tapioca pudding, mixed it together, and turned them into pancakes.
And they're fantastic. Well, there was buttermilk in there, and butter, and a little bit of sugar, and eggs.
I'm just giving you grief.
Well, they're good.
I had burritos.
Either way.
I had burritos for dinner, and we're having pork carnitas tomorrow. For some reason, the wife is on a Mexican
Ooh.
kick, but I don't mind.
Oh, nothing wrong with burritos.
Except for you couldn't eat them because I used real flour tortillas. You'd be like, "You're trying to kill me." Maybe.
Yes, but you know what I can eat is real tacos. So.
Yeah, but only because they use corn tortillas.
Yeah, well, traditional Mexican tacos are soft corn tortillas.
Soft corn
and
tortillas
you just
are the devil.
You kind of fry them a little bit, but they stay soft.
Soft corn tortillas are the devil. I don't like them. Anyway,
Nah, try frying them a little bit.
How did we get on? How did Food Twitter invade our show? It's your fault. We started talking about breakfast.
It's my fault. It's my fault. Breakfast for dinner.
Hey, Ordy, I know you're listening. Pineapple belongs on pizza. Figure I might as well go for the trifecta while we're at it. All right, so let's get off of food because I'm fat and I just ate dinner and suddenly I'm starting to get hungry again because we're talking about food. So let's start talking politics, shall we? Where do you want to go first?
Well, I mean, obviously, Putin owns the U.S.
Yeah,
as if we didn't know that already.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure we knew that already. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
Putin
owns the U.S. and it's all Trump's fault.
Are we the only one? Are the leftists the only one that didn't get the memo that we sold ourselves to Russia? Because I'm pretty sure that happened under the Obama administration. Just saying.
No, wait, no. Uranium means nothing.
What?
$400 million campaign contributions, that means nothing.
Wait, what about Hillary's anus means nothing? Oh, sorry.
All that means nothing. The don't worry, I'll have flexibility after the election, that means nothing. Do you know what means something? Trump was nice to him. Trump may have said some things, may have misspoken or something, but that just means now Russia owns us. The uranium means nothing. The $400 million in campaign contributions means nothing. WikiLeaks coming out and saying that the Russians had nothing to do with what they leaked means nothing. None of that means anything.
Well, of course it doesn't.
All that matters is that Trump was friendly.
Yeah, God forbid.
Because when Trump is friendly, he's an asshole. And when he's not friendly, he's an asshole. And no matter what he does, he's an asshole. So that's where we are.
Fucking assholes. Sorry. But I don't know. I'm kind of over it. I actually made the mistake of going into Facebook earlier today and actually talked to a friend I haven't talked to in forever, like an actual real life friend. Like, we used to work together back in the day. Like, we used to watch each other's backs when we had to, do things like kick in doors to arrest people. And apparently, because I'm now somebody who's at least tacitly trying to be supportive of the President of the United States, I'm a Nazi! I'm over it.
Yeah, I saw you talking about that. That's a damn shame. I mean, honestly, this whole Trump thing, it's just killing me because, you look at the North Korea thing. When this all started, Trump is becoming an excellent passive-aggressive diplomat, is what he's becoming. With North Korea, he basically threatens them. The left says he's going to get us killed. Then he goes in there for a summit and talks to them. Oh, he's being friendly with them. He's going to get us killed. What haven't you seen out of North Korea in the last couple months, few months? You haven't seen nuclear tests. You haven't seen missile tests. They canceled the anti-U.S. giant, massive military freaking parade. It's working. Whatever he's doing, it's working. Shut up. Just shut up. It's working. I mean, I don't care if you hate the guy. I don't care if you personally hate him. I mean, at least once acknowledge the fact that maybe he did something that worked. That's what drives me crazy, is they will never acknowledge one single thing he does is good. Not one. Not one.
Well, it's because they can't. Because as soon as they do, they get picked apart by their own side. I've actually seen it happen. I've actually seen people on the left. Alan Dershowitz comes to mind, who's actually been very supportive of Trump and has now basically been alienated from everywhere because he's supportive.
Yeah, you hardly hear his name anywhere anymore. You really don't. I mean, he used to be all over the place.
It's just sad that this is what we've come to. Because at the end of the day, we should be looking at things and we should be talking about what's actually going on. Not the things that are being said, but the things that are actually being done. I will admit, Trump is a master troll. He's really, really good at it. There are things that he does that annoy the ever-loving piss out of me. But at the same time, he's getting results. He's got people actually talking about our unfair trade disadvantages that we've been in for decades that nobody's talked about until now. And as scary as these tariffs were, and as much as everybody's, oh my God, he's going to kill the economy because of tariffs, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, it hasn't happened. The stock market didn't die. Everybody, I mean, there have been some people that have been complaining about prices, but now he's got countries coming back to the table. They're like, well, apparently you're not bluffing, so maybe we need to sit down and talk about this. Because the things that he's doing are working. The economy is stronger than in a lot of ways, the economy is stronger than I've ever seen it. I'm 45 years old. We haven't had an economy this strong in my lifetime. In a lot of ways.
I mean, I'm feeling a little bit of it personally, but I'm watching it with my company. My company, all of a sudden, we weren't doing terrible because we do have kind of a. We're in kind of a niche kind of business, but all of a sudden we're freaking blossoming. I mean, the company I work for is doing the best I've seen it do. I've worked for it for 14 years, and it's hard to say. I mean, it's a growing company. We started with one office. Now we have 5 in 4 different states. But if I compare just how it was doing 5 years ago to how it's doing now, when we were at about the same size we are, it's almost apples and oranges, because everybody, you walk into the office and people aren't stressed out. You know, I mean, we're kicking butt. I mean, business is incredible. You know, that says something. And what it is Trump is a guy, he just doesn't hold punches. And we're not used to that. We're not used to, you know, he's just going to do what he's going to do, and he really doesn't care, and he kind of goes by his gut. And so far, I'd say he's about 75-25, 75 in the favor of his gut being right, which is a pretty good track record for a president. That's a pretty damn good track record right there, compared to what we've seen over the last few decades.
And the funny thing is, you know, you start trying to talk to the leftist about the positive things, and then they're like, but all of that really started under Obama. Like the African-American unemployment rate. If you actually look at the left-leaning people, the periodicals that are talking about the African American unemployment rate, all of a sudden there's all this anecdotal data that the black unemployment rate had been going down the entire time Barack Obama was in office. That's funny because I don't remember anybody talking about it the entire time Barack Obama was in office. Actually, I remember that the mean tested numbers, if you put everybody back in, that had basically given up and stopped looking for work, the African American unemployment rate under Barack Obama was 57%. Now we're down in numbers that we have never seen before, and it's Barack Obama did it. But that's the problem with the left. They spent the entire Obama presidency blaming Bush for everything that Obama was supposed to be cleaning up, and now that Obama's out of office, all the positive things that Trump's like, well, look what's been happening for the 2 years that I've been in office, and all the leftists are like, well, that's because of what Barack Obama did before he left, because they've become convinced that the president that is in office now can't do anything because it was all the president before them that either was successful or a complete failure.
Yeah, it's all media driven. It's all media driven, which is what, I just can't. I don't. And people, I love it when people try to tell me that I'm a Fox News junkie or something like that. You know what? I don't even watch shows that really have nothing to do with any kind of anything, like, lighthearted shows. I haven't turned on Fox News in months and months and months. And I keep being told, you listen to faux news. You watch faux news. I don't watch any of it. I don't. I just listen. I will read both sides too. I do. I read both sides. I will read. I'll read Vox. You kind of have to. I'll read HuffPo. But when I read, and even if I read Fox News opinion, okay, that's fine. I'm reading opinion. I know it's opinion. If I read Vox opinion, I know it's opinion. If I read HuffPo opinion, I know it's opinion. People take that as straight news. That's the problem. When I read opinion, even if it's opinion on the right, if it's a conservative, I take it with a grain of salt. You and I, we've been talking about Kurt Schlichter. The guy's great. He's awesome. He's not news. I love reading his opinion, and I don't always agree with it. So people don't understand. I've had times where I'll retweet something of his, and people say, "Oh, you're just a Trumpkin." Well, you know what? He really isn't. He was not pro-Trump, but he's pro-president. And people don't understand that. But I don't always agree with everything he says, but I enjoy reading him. He's another one that's really good at trolling people. He's fun to watch. He's a master. He's an absolute master at it. And there are times he's posted stuff and I've cringed. But it is what it is. And I like the guy. I think the guy is a true patriotic American. He's, a retired Army colonel. He's fought in multiple quote-unquote wars and done multiple tours. And I enjoy his reading, and I enjoy what he says. And I enjoy watching him troll. It's awesome. And the people that fall into it, I'm just like, oh my God, you don't even realize he just trolled the hell out of you.
Those are the best ones to watch, though, the ones that don't even realize they're being trolled. Actually, there's another guy that is like, he's a comedian. His whole thing is he trolls people on Twitter. And I was half asleep one night editing audio, and I had fallen into it, and we were going back and forth for like 30 minutes before I realized he was trolling me. And then when I realized he was trolling me, he started laughing at me. I was like, you suck.
Who was it?
Michael Malice. I didn't even realize who he was at that point. I'd already followed along with him before, just kind of seeing some of his tweets and thinking that he was funny. Well, he started saying something that was completely off the wall, and he was purposefully spelling words wrong, and I'm just thinking, okay. And he kept doing it, so I just assumed that he just wasn't paying attention. So then I tried to show him that he was spelling it wrong. So then he started making fun of me for showing him that he spelled it wrong, and then I realized what he was doing because I started watching him trolling other people, and then
he was trolling you.
And then we were like talking back and forth for like an hour before I finally went to bed, and he's like, the funniest thing is you kept showing me proof that you were spelling it right, even though I kept telling you were spelling it wrong. It took you 30 minutes to figure out I was busting your balls. I was like, dude, it's 12:30 in the morning. I've worked 14 hours today, and I'm exhausted. I didn't notice. Leave me alone. He followed me. He followed me for like a month, and then he unfollowed again. So whatever. Guess he didn't think I was funny, bastard.
Trolling is fun. I mean, I when I put my mind to it, I'm a pretty good troll too. I mean, I don't know if you remember. I mean, during the primaries, when all of the hardcore Trump fans or whatever you want to call them, they were all, getting all uptight about voter fraud and everything else. And I mean, I was putting out stuff, I'm in Butt Lick, Arkansas, and this just happened and that just happened. And all these Trump supporters would be like, and I'd hashtag, and all these Trump supporters would be like, oh my God, retweeting this. Look at this. DOJ, everything else. And I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. I said Butt Lick, Arkansas. Did you not see that? I mean, trolling's fun.
Speaking of trolling, I'm really starting to think that this Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez campaign is nothing but a troll by Democrats. There's actually some video that Bernie Sanders pushed out earlier today, because I guess they were, actually it just says, Bernie Sanders tweeted out this video of fellow socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the road in Kansas to campaign with Dem Brent Welder, when she accidentally said, we're going to flip this seat red in November. Oops. What side are you? So here's the funny thing, because the guy that she beat in the primary, because of some shenanigans, is actually still going to be on the ballot. So there's a good chance that her seat may flip red for real, because Joe Lieberman is telling everybody in that district to vote for the other guy. I've not seen this kind of division in the Democratic Party before. It's interesting because the division's always been more our thing. Because we'll get in our little clique groups and, well, you're not a true conservative because you don't think like this, and you're not a true conservative because you don't think like that. Up until now, the Democrats have been pretty united, but the more they fight and the more they flail and the more desperate they get, the more they're starting to break off into their own little cliques. Like, I just saw yesterday that they've now decided they're going to launch a Medicare for All caucus in Congress. Because that's a great idea. We want nationalized health care like Great Britain, so we can have Charlie Guards here too.
Right. I'm kind of, I'm kind of reveling in the fact that our unemployment is so low because people are working 2 or 3 jobs.
It's funny. She's not even the first person that said that. That's the scare. Well, she's the first person that said it, but I think it was either Warren or Pelosi that said something very similar. The only reason the unemployment rate's so low is because people are now having to work 3 and 4 jobs to make ends meet. That's not how that number's determined.
Yeah, no, and we were working 3 and 4 jobs for a while. Actually, we're cutting back on our jobs now.
Well, some of us are.
We're
slacker.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
Slacker.
in general, I mean, when the government puts a little more money back in our pockets, then we can cut back on the extra work we're doing. Or we don't have to cut back on the extra work we're doing. We can make a lot of extra money. Either way you look at it. But it does not raise or lower the unemployment rate.
Speaking of which, remember how I was complaining because we got the tax cut, but because of where I work, we didn't actually see a raise right away. I finally got a cost of living raise. I got my first raise since I started. It officially kicks in about 2 weeks. I'm kind of excited because
congratulations.
We actually have a raise scale set up for the next 4 years to get cost of living increases on top of whatever else as our contracts come up that they're going to try to renegotiate. And it's all because the business owners actually have more money in their pocket, so they have more money that they can do things with. That's that. You know what? Honestly, it was the tax cuts that made it happen on so many different levels. Because what happened is there for a while when Walmart started, raising their starting pay to anywhere from $13 to $15 an hour. Target started raising their starting pay to anywhere from $11 to $13 an hour. Even like I say down the street, but I live in the middle of nowhere. About 15 miles from me, in the middle of the closest big town to us, there's a Waffle House. They have a sign out that now starting pay $10 an hour up to $14 an hour after your 90 days of training. But that's the thing. That's not happening because the government's making them do it. It's happening because the government got the hell out of their pockets. Yep. This is what I've been trying to explain to people all along, and they kept saying, oh, you're wrong, it doesn't work, trickle-down economics didn't work. Like hell it didn't work. I may have only been a kid, but I lived through it. I remember having to wait 45 minutes in line to get gas under Carter. 45 minutes in line to get gas under Carter. That disappeared overnight.
In the back of my mom's Hornet station wagon with no air conditioning, damn it.
We had a Maverick hatchback with no air conditioning. But
same difference.
Probably. But I really love that thing because it had the big window in the back, and I'd always sit back there and pretend it was a spaceship, and that was my cockpit window. I don't know. I was a weird kid. But, I know. Shut up. Yeah, not much has changed.
Yeah, we all had the Mavericks and the Hornets and the Pintos because, we had to endure the energy crisis. That's where we were. I mean, you went through that. I went through that. I mean, my dad went from driving a freaking sedan DeVille to driving a Chevy Vega because you couldn't get gas.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. My parents went from like this big tank of a car that I barely remember to getting like a little Maverick hatchback because you had to have something that could get good gas mileage, and it was just a terrible time. And then Reagan,
my dad went from a Cadillac to a Vega. I mean, a freaking sedan DeVille where you could sit in the back seat and literally put your feet up, to a Chevy Vega where me and my brother were cramped in the back seat because gas, because oil, because we went through literally the same presidency that we just went through.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, though. It wasn't just the gas and the oil. You got to remember, in the 70s, they had like 80 and 90% tax brackets.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, well, that's why the companies used to pay people living wages, because they would pay them more money so they didn't have to pay as many taxes on it. That didn't have anything to do with it. This is now living proof that it didn't have anything to do with it, because the exact opposite of what happened, or what the left said was going to happen if we cut taxes, is exactly what just happened. Donald Trump has brought more business, by basically waving a magic wand and cutting taxes, he's brought more business back into this country than Barack Obama ever thought about bringing back into this country. And anytime anybody asked him about manufacturing or all the other jobs that were going overseas, oh, those days are gone. Those things, it's never going to happen again. But Donald Trump's been in office less than 2 years, and we already have. Not only do we have American jobs coming back, we have more foreign countries coming in here to build things now, because we've made the economy so much more business friendly, which was the important thing to do a long time ago, but we didn't want to do that because And this is the big difference between the left and the right. The left doesn't care about whether or not you can feed your family. They care about whether or not the government can help you feed your family. The left doesn't care if you can afford your own health care. The left only cares if they can provide you with health care. Because the more things that they can make sure that you need them for, the less likely you are to ever vote against them again.
Yeah, and now what they've done is, through 8 years of Obama, they've literally sucked in a generation. They've sucked in a generation. They've sucked in a generation of, just go to school, do well in school, do this, do that. We're going to praise you for it, and go study whatever you want to study. And now these kids are all out of school and they can't find jobs. They can find jobs.
But they're too
Let me rephrase myself. They can find jobs, but they can't find jobs in their course of study in, gender studies and whatever other crazy freaking majors that these universities have come up with. Now they're supposed to go out and they're supposed to get a job where somebody looks at their resume and goes, "You have a degree in what?
Do you have a degree in asexual macrame studies and you want to come do this business job?" Sure. Yeah, we can make that happen for you. Yeah,
right. There's a Starbucks on the corner, buddy. They're looking for baristas.
Some of these people wouldn't even be smart enough to be a barista. That's the scary part.
It just, and then they want, oh my God, now I got this freaking education and I got $100,000 in student loans and the country needs to pay for it.
Yeah, well, I gave you my answer to that, and that's why my wife and I sat down and talked to our youngest son, because he's going to be the only one that probably goes to college, because the other kids are just kind of content doing the things that they do. But we basically flat out told him, you have two options. You can either work your tail end off and get a scholarship, or you can go to Votech, or you can do both, because he's got a really good shot at getting a scholarship right now. But because he decided to go and use part of his high school education to basically do a trade school, he's actually going to go, before he goes to college, he's going to go for the third year in the trade school. So by the time he's ready to start college, he'll be able to work making anywhere from $22 to $25 an hour while he's putting himself through college to get a degree that goes along with the field of study that he's already had, so that by the time he gets out of college, he's going to be making enough money where I can retire and make him pay me. No, not really. I thought about it, but I'm not going to be that guy. We were joking about that.
Well, yeah,
we were joking about that.
My daughter, my oldest daughter, she got incredible grades in high school. She got scholarships. She got grants. She went for everything she could go for, and she put herself through nursing school, and she's putting herself through graduate school while working as a registered nurse, and she literally has like $15,000 in student loan debt. She did it on her own. We couldn't help her. We could barely afford to support the family as it was. We couldn't help her. She did it on her own. These kids that go out and they, I do know people with massive student loans that got degrees that are working for them, and they can afford to pay back their student loans. The student loan thing is crazy. You kind of, in a sense, at least on social media, my brother. My brother has an MBA from George Washington University, one of the greatest MBAs you can get. He's in his now entered his late 40s, and he still has tons of student debt, but he's making good money. He went for what he thought he needed. Sometimes he thinks it might have been a mistake, but he always has that, at least. He has a master's degree in business administration from one of the best business schools in the country. He's always got that. He struggled for a while, but at least he got something he could use.
Yeah, I mean, but at least he has a degree in something that's useful. What drives me crazy are these people that they wind up, they convince their parents to help them pay for college, and then they use government grant money to do the rest of it, and they spend an entire 4 years doing general studies. Really?
Yeah.
How much did you just spend to reinforce your high school education and still don't have any starting point as to what you want to do for the rest of your life? Look, I'm a firm believer that people shouldn't necessarily jump straight from high school into college, because I did that. I went from high school into college, and I got to tell you, being 18 years old and going from high school into college, I wasn't ready, because high school was really, really structured. College, not so much. Even as a full-time student, I was in class for maybe 2 to 3 hours a day. The rest of the time was mine to do homework, whatever I wanted. I actually wound up leaving college and came back a couple of years later because I realized that I wasn't mature enough to be there. So what I did in the meantime was I went and found jobs that I knew how to do to make money, to be able to start putting, money together to get a place or whatever I decided I wanted to do. And then I went back to school, and I don't have a 4-year degree. I got a 2-year degree because I had to have it for the field that I wanted to work in, because when I was in college, they didn't need it. When I decided that was what I wanted to do with my life, I came back and I realized, well, I've got to have a 2-year degree. So I went back, and actually, I guess it was about a year, because I went my first semester in college. I got a B in psychology. I don't even remember going to the class. Somehow I got a B in psychology. I remember being in there like once. So I took a year off, and I went back. And I got my 2-year degree. By the time I finished with my 2-year degree, I was about to turn 21 years old. And you guys know most of the rest of the story. I spent most of my life from that point forward in a uniform in one form or another. And, we're not going to go down that road again. But, it's just one of those things where, we have all of these people that are like, well, I want to get... And I'm not even picking on the guy. I know a friend of mine who has decided he's created his own degree program because he's found a way to be able to take all of the things that he likes, and he's found classes that will tie into them. So he's basically found a way to get a degree in what he considers folklore and comic book studies. I don't know what he's going to do with it. He's a librarian, so I'm sure maybe he has some grand idea in mind. But I'm just like, how many hours did you spend sitting there figuring out what classes that you could take that would eventually basically give you a 4-year degree in folklore?
Wow.
I don't get it. We have all of these people that are like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, and I don't have any skills, and all I know how to do is flip burgers. Well, guess what? I've done everything from flip burgers, fry cook, I've cleaned toilets for a living. I've done pretty much everything that you can think of. And I've still managed to, throughout the years, scrape enough together to where I've got a pretty decent life. Things are not always great. We still occasionally live paycheck to paycheck, but we're not stuck. We're not starving. I mean, obviously, some of you have seen my picture. I'm not starving. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, the thing that doesn't seem to be understood is there. For a while there was this whole stigma that you have to go to college. I mean, right now, in the United States, in industry in general, I mean, even just down to, there's companies that are hurting for welders, for diesel mechanics. These are all good paying jobs. These are all jobs, these skilled jobs that don't require a degree pay more than a lot of degree required jobs pay. I mean, if you're an X-ray welder, and I don't know if a lot of people may not know what an X-ray welder is, you actually you internally weld pipe, and you use an X-ray machine to see what you're doing. You're welding. It doesn't take a degree. It takes a lot of training. But it's a very skilled profession, and they are literally paying, I think an X-ray welder right now starts at like $38 an hour, and most of them are getting about 60 hours a week. So if you figure $38 an hour starting and 20 hours a week of your pay is time and a half on $38 an hour, you're making $120,000, $130,000, $140,000 a year. And they can't find people to do it. Because everybody's got to go to college and get their general studies degree or their liberal arts degree or whatever.
That actually became part of the American dream for a while. It was like everybody was supposed to grow up, they were supposed to go to college, they were supposed to get a job as a doctor or a lawyer and make bank and make babies, and that was it. The interesting thing is, if you ask everybody, because I've done this before, just to see, you ask 5 people, just do this sometime. Walking down the street, just stop people, don't be creepy about it or anything. Just say, hey, I have a question for you. What do you think, what does the American dream mean to you? It used to mean pretty much the same thing to everybody. It used to be raising a family, owning a house, getting a degree, and finding a nice job. The funny thing is, as things have changed, that definition is changing for people, and that's why we're starting to see people. I don't feel as bad for businesses now as I used to, because I see a lot of people that are starting to go back into trade schools again. They don't see trade schools as a dirty word like they were for the longest time. Because, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, trade schools were where you went if you couldn't go to big boy college. And it's not really like that anymore, because people are realizing that, technology has changed, jobs have changed. And that's one of the things, all of the stuff that was negative this week that everybody was having a fit about, we missed a really huge thing. Donald Trump had a job summit. Nobody's talking about it. They're talking about bringing 500,000 plus kids straight out of high school into programs to get them jobs. They were looking for 500,000 kids. They found like 4 million of them. Because the demand was so much more than what they were expecting. But we're not talking about any of that because it's all about Russia. And it's all about Donald Trump being in Putin's pocket. Here's the thing. You can say what you want. Because I understand that Putin is ex-KGB. And I understand that it's really hard for people to wrap their heads around this. But I want you to think about something. Donald Trump was the one that called that meeting, not Putin. Donald Trump called that meeting. Donald Trump called that meeting to get Putin to do exactly what he did on the world stage and tell everybody about the $400 million that was illegally transmitted from Russia to America through the Hillary Clinton Foundation, and nobody blinked. Because, oh my God, he's being nice to Putin. This is proof that he's in Putin's pocket. If you want my honest opinion, it tells me that I think it's probably the other way around. Because Donald Trump just got the leader of a foreign nation to admit that there was shenanigans going on in his own country.
Well, there's not just that. Everybody's screaming about Trump, Putin, Trump, Putin. How many Russian dignitaries have been kicked out of this country since Trump took office?
A lot.
A lot of them have. A lot of them have that all came over here during the previous administration. And all pulled their shenanigans during the previous administration. But Trump is he's in bed with the Russians.
That's the thing that
It's baloney. It's all freaking baloney. It's just, I'm.
That's the thing that I think annoys me the most about it, is because everything that we're talking about happened between 2014 and 2016. Who was the president from 2014 to 2016? Because it sure as hell wasn't Donald Trump. who was the head of the FBI from 2014 to 2016? Because it sure as hell isn't the guy. It sure as hell isn't Rosenstein. It's not. It was, I believe, Brennan was CIA, right? He was the director of the CIA. Comey was FBI, I think. But the whole thing is, we're talking about people that this all happened under the Obama administration, and Barack Obama knew about it, and he sat on it. He knew about it after he was making fun of Donald Trump for talking about the fact that he had it on good authority that our elections were being messed with. Barack Obama played it off as if, hey, he's just afraid the Democrats are going to do something to the elections, and that's not possible, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But he knew since August of 2016 that we had credible, authoritative proof that somebody was screwing with our electoral process. This is what I've been trying to explain to people for months, because everybody asks me, how come you're not mad? Why aren't you mad that Russia's doing this to us? You should be mad that Russia's doing this to us. This is Barack Obama's fault. That's why Russia did this to us. Barack Obama started the Lead From Behind program and basically pulled us back on the world stage. Politics is much like nature. It abhors a vacuum. So when we started pulling ourselves back and deciding that we weren't going to be the leaders of the free world anymore because we were going to do this Lead From Behind BS, all of a sudden Russia and China started stepping up. So pardon me if I'm not a little angry that another foreign power finally decided to give us a taste of our own medicine, because it's not like we haven't been election engineering for decades. It's his fault. If he hadn't put us on such a weak footing all over the world, this never would have happened. And yet we're blaming Donald Trump instead of the person who did it, who caused it. It was Barack Obama. That's who made this mess. Now Donald Trump is trying to find a way to clean it up, and that's pretty much what he told everybody on the world stage. You guys want me? You want me standing here punching this man in the face? All I'm trying to do is clean up a mess.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a meme the other day that literally put me on the floor. There's a picture of Trump and Putin sitting together, kind of closely talking, and the caption over Putin was, I'm KGB, not a Democrat. I wouldn't mess with your elections.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
It is kind of funny. I mean, I'm just, the Russians have been messing with the U.S. and the U.S. have been messing with the Russians forever.
Pretty much since the U.S. and Russia were created. As a reminder, this is the funny part. So, John Brennan, who was the head of the CIA, actually in, I believe it was the 70s, voted for the Communist Party here in America at the top of the ticket. Ted Kennedy, Mr. I'm a Good Swimmer, was actually on record trying to help the Russians during the 80 election with Ronald Reagan. This is where this stuff is coming from. They're bringing out their own playbook from their past and using it against us when they were doing it all again, and they know it. The only reason Barack Obama said on the information that he did was because there was a 93% chance, based on every number that he could see, that Hillary Clinton was going to become president of the United States. And if she was president of the United States, none of that was going to matter. They were going to be able to sweep it under the rug, and we would have never known the difference. And God knows what we would be going through right now if she had made president of the United States. That's one of the reasons why, at the time, based on the information that I had, I could not vote for Donald Trump, because I was 1,000% sure that he was not going to be able to beat her. I was wrong. I freely admit I was wrong. He did beat her. He's done about 1,000,000% better job than I thought he was going to do. And that tells you something, because I honestly thought he was going to suck rocks from day one. And he's done a really good job. It's like you said. I mean, I'll honestly give him a little bit higher marks. I think he's done about 80-20. I think the summit with Putin unfortunately set him back a bit because he doesn't polish things enough. And I understand that's who he is. but he's going to have to start learning to talk like a politician when it matters. I understand wanting to be the Brooklyn Brawler when you're dealing with the people in your own country. I get that. But when you're on the world stage, you got to quit sounding like Rocky Balboa.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're 100% right there. But you and I can see it for what it is. They're just I'm tired of I'm over the whole previous life stuff. I'm over it. I don't think we're going to ever find squeaky clean again. I think it's impossible. I think it's impossible to find squeaky clean. Because there's... Who on the face of the earth is squeaky clean?
Nobody.
Honestly.
Especially in the digital age, nobody's clean. I don't care who you are. You have done something in your life that now everybody's going to be able to find because there are cameras everywhere. You're not going to know it's there till it's too late. And that's part of the problem. That's like this thing that happened with the director of Guardians of the Galaxy today. He was making off-color comments on Twitter. Now he's been fired. I don't like it, but the left is all incensed about it. You guys are the ones that made that mess, because anytime the right says or does anything stupid, even people that aren't even of the right, because Roseanne Barr really does not lean right, folks. She's pretty much a communist. She just happens to be a Donald Trump fan. But she made an off-color comment about somebody, lost her entire livelihood. Now the left is all pissed off because the director of the Guardians of Galaxy got fired for the same crap.
Oh, they constantly eat their own. I mean, they're eating up Alyssa Milano right now because her new TV show is about a fat girl that busts her butt to get skinny to gain popularity, and now they're saying, "Oh, well, you're going against the whole women are women and blah blah blah." They're eating their own. They eat their own.
Yeah,
no matter what. I mean, it's a TV show. I mean, I'll in this case, I'll defend Alyssa Milano. It's a freaking stupid TV show, is all it is. It's a stupid TV show, and shut up. Just shut up.
I like that. And shut up. All right, so we've gone commercial-free for the first hour. We've got about 3 minutes left, and here in a second I'm going to be kicking Dan out of the studio because we have some guests that are going to be joining us for the last portion of the show. Any closing thoughts on the way out?
No, not really. We touched base, actually, on most of the stuff I wanted to touch base on. And again, shut up! Not you.
That's
everybody
right.
else.
You can tell me to
everybody
shut up.
No, everybody just needs to shut up. Just shut up.
But yeah, I mean, seriously, just take a chill pill. I mean, honestly, start getting your news from other sources, because the funny thing is, when I start showing people things, like I had a friend of mine today, when I started railing on the fact, that if George W. Bush had done to Barack Obama what Barack Obama's been doing to Donald Trump ever since he got out of office, the left would be having a freaking, they would just be beside themselves, is a nice way to put it. So, but the funny thing is, so I had a friend of mine who hit me up about it, and they're like, dude, I'm all over his TL, I don't see what you're talking about. So I showed him a couple of instances on his TL, and then I showed him like 4 or 5 other articles with video links of things that he said. Suddenly he didn't have as much to say about it, because Barack Obama has broken a very long-standing tradition of not criticizing your immediate predecessor, or your immediate successor, as president of the United States. He has taken that rule, thrown it out the window, and now it's something else that we're probably going to have to deal with the repercussions of, because that means, unfortunately, Donald Trump is probably not going away when he has a successor, which is going to annoy me just as much as watching Barack Obama doing this now annoys me. Even though I like a lot of what Donald Trump is doing, I don't like how Donald Trump behaves on Twitter. I don't like how Donald Trump behaves in front of cameras. And again, I like his policies. If we could focus on his policies, I would be a very happy person, because a lot of the policies that he's doing, not only are they working, but he's showing everybody exactly how screwed up everything is when he keeps saying, I can't be the one to fix immigration, Congress has to fix it. So just to show you how bad it is, I'm going to actually enforce the laws as written, which, by the way, is the job of the executive branch. We seem to have forgotten that. But on that note, we're going to take a quick break, because we've got to take a break. And then when I come back, it'll be me in studio with the host of a new show that will be joining us. That's all you get for now. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
You're out here acting so tough, and now I'm calling your bluff. Black hoods and no faces. We'll take it out to the streets. That's where we...
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Oh, let me tell you something. I am so sick of Washington and all its works and all them politicians down there and them congressmen. I'll bet you won't find none of them congressmen signing down their electric blankets tonight. Which if they did, their secretaries would get up and go home.
We gotta do something.
Absolutely.
You know what we gotta do? Toga party.
Toga! 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 Toga!
I want you to kill every gopher on the course.
Check me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but if I kill all the golfers, they're gonna lock me up and throw away the key.
All right, folks, welcome back. I am Rick Robinson. As promised, we have some guests with us this evening. We're actually going to be discussing a new show landing here on KLRN Radio starting in August. We have the hosts of For Immediate Release. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves so I don't mess up anybody's names. So how you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. This is not Bill O'Reilly.
Well, you're the only Bill O'Reilly we care about. I'm just saying.
but I'm very proud to introduce Liz Feld on the show, Liz Noyer-Feld, who is an all-star I've known for many, many years, and we're excited to be on Immediate Release together.
We're really, really looking forward to having you guys.
I'm so happy to be here.
All right, so actually, why don't we do a bit of a round-robin thing? Bill, you've already been on America Off the Rails at least once that I can think of, so why don't we go ahead and start ladies first. Liz, in case some folks may not necessarily know who you are, which I don't know how they wouldn't, but in case they don't, why don't you let some folks know how you kind of got into the stuff that we're about to be talking about as far as your political stuff, what led you to start doing podcasts, things like that.
Oh, thanks so much, Rick. Well, I can rewind the tape a little bit and tell you I started ringing doorbells when I was about 8 years old with my dad, who was involved in local politics in Westchester County, New York, actually in Lawrenceville, the town I grew up in. And not that long after that, I met Billy. I met Billy almost 40 years ago, and he and I connected right away through his sister, and we've been collaborating on many local, state, and national political campaigns and advocacy issues for almost throughout that entire time. And what got me to jump in with Bill to do this podcast right now is my concern, partly by age. I'll be honest with you, Rick. I've got 3 children now who are all out of college, and I look at the landscape for them going forward, and what terrifies me, and frankly, what infuriates me, is the national debt, the fact that we've done nothing on entitlement reforms, that, despite decades of commitments on fixing immigration and infrastructure, no matter what party's been in office, we've done nothing. And as we come upon the midterm elections and we start looking at the 2020 presidential cycle, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for Bill and me to host a podcast and also to bring on some special guests to really talk about solutions. Our goal here is not to spend our time ranting and just complaining, but really to talk about the opportunity and the obligation that we have to do our part. And I've spent the last 15 or 20 years working in different organizations, both corporate and nonprofit. And at the end of the day, no matter what industry people come from, and even no matter what part of the country they're from, there's no question there is a dramatic amount of anxiety right now about where we're headed. So that's why I'm committed to this, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And I'm going to defer to Billy on most of this. So just so you know, for all of you who are listening, he is a force to be reckoned with, and he's done more work on the ground than anybody I know when it comes to really understanding not just the political process, but also how government can work and should work. So we can all learn from him. So this will be a learning experience for me as much as it will be for the people who are listening.
Well, I have to say, we're definitely looking forward to bringing you guys along. Sorry, Bill, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to say my basic theory for doing the show is to stand at the net and let Liz volley in the back. You know, so she'll hit the long one. But Liz is being very humble. She was working in the Reagan-Bush White House in the communications and Treasury. Was it, Liz? Maybe you're doing the finance side.
Well, we worked at OMB.
Almost right out of school. OMB, right? Almost right out of school. So pretty amazing, and was the mayor herself, and I was lucky enough to work with her on a run for state senate, and I think, Liz, you looked at United States Senate in New York and decided the timing wasn't right, which it wasn't. It was a pretty bad year for anyone right of center. But yeah, we're definitely excited about doing it. And just to echo Liz's sentiments, that's really what's driving me too, Rick, and I'm sure you and so many of your listeners is the anxiety Liz talks about with where the country's going. And we have ups and downs in the minute, but we forget the long term sometimes. You know, we're all following the news cycle. I'm more guilty of it than maybe anybody, where I'm watching the ups and downs every day, and you forget that clock is going off. There's a lot of things going on long term, and a lot of us as kids, grandchildren, will want to at some point, and they're going to be inheriting this mess. So I think that's right. I think we'll try and get some good people on to talk about it. I think also we'd love to have guests on because we fortunately both have worked with a lot of political people, as have you, and a lot of political journalists we'd like to get on and see if we can have a conversation where we're kind of left, right, center, and all the above can have some honest back and forth without screaming. There'll be a little screaming because that happens, but you try and keep it reasonable.
I don't know. Do you really think that everybody can be in the same place and get along? Because I seem to find that being harder and harder. I think a lot of that has to do with the news cycles like you were just talking about, though, because I don't know about you. I mean, I have to eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff because, on top of everything else that I do, I also have a day job and I have a family. So anytime I have, 5 minutes, I'm catching up with the news cycle, and it's like things are breaking so fast. It's like, oh, look, squirrel. Oh, look, now there's a squirrel there. I can't keep up. It's just everywhere all at once. There used to be, one of my co-hosts, who you guys will probably meet another time, we were having a discussion about this the other night because we do 2 shows a week, and it used to be really easy because over the weekend we'd kind of look at things and get ready for what we were going to talk about on Tuesday, and then usually between Tuesday and Thursday we'd spend a few minutes looking at things and figure out what we were going to talk about by Thursday. The news cycles have already jumped 14 times between 48 hours because it's it's just nonstop. And the thing that like you guys were just talking about with the debt clock, we saw that thing every day when Obama was president. Nobody talks about the Republican back in office. I still want to know what on with the debt clock.
And it's still clicking.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Go ahead, Liz.
Well, I was going to say one of the problems or one of the challenges we have with that, Rick, is that millions, billions, trillions. These numbers don't mean anything to the average guy in the street anymore. They just don't. It's all just, it's like watching the evening news and seeing these healthcare stories night after night. People can't remember if it was about diabetes or obesity or cancer. It's just a lot of noise and a lot of information. And I think you're being generous even calling it a news cycle because I think it's just noise. And and maybe we can start chipping away at some of that by just getting some focus around some of the big things that we know matter to people and breaking stuff down into bite-sized, pieces of information and talking about issues really at a granular level so people can really understand how what's getting done is impacting their lives and also what they can do about it. Because for God's sakes, if we don't do something about the debt, we should have Big Ben in the middle of Times Square. You want to talk about the debt clock? Then the rest of the stuff's not going to matter. It's national security. Our entire national security is based on our economic security. And without that, we've got nothing. And I don't think people ever connect those dots. So we'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about that.
No, absolutely. And Rick, it's so funny you mentioned it that way. I mean, I'm a Federalist Party of America person, but in my day job, I'm a Republican political consultant. And the news cycle, and I've done it for 30 odd years, and I do the press side of it, so I'm always watching the news cycle. And it's now like strapping into a video game. You plug it in the morning, and it's a lot of it's to do with social media, but just the speed of it. And those news cycles last 20 minutes sometimes, 25 minutes, and it's just a constant back and forth. And so you plug in at 7 a.m. and you're there at midnight going back and forth. And on the other side, there's Democrats doing the same thing at you. And sometimes you meet each other in green rooms or in the back of debate halls, and you say, my God, how do we stop this thing? And no one knows how to do it. And I think that's a conversation worth having, where there's a lot of private conversations between people on all sides of the aisle that work in the political industry that can't figure out how to stop it. And I think that's definitely, rather than talk about the issue of the day, which we'll certainly do, and that's always interesting and great fodder, but to pull the helicopter up a few thousand feet and try and say, what are we doing? What are we doing as a country? What are we doing as a society? We're just picking each other apart, and it's not going to get us where we want to be. And sometimes it's fun to kind of roll on some rage of the day and that type of stuff. And I could be guilty of that for sure, but it's not going to pay off in the long term. It's like, and like you said, you have kids too. Liz does, I do. Your listeners do, and that's what really matters. We got to find a way, because if this thing gets any faster, it's going to run into a brick wall at some point.
Yeah, I think the first thing we should probably do is figure out a way to make the dead clock an old school analog clock, so people could just watch it spin to the point where it's ready to take off. That might help get the picture a little bit better for them. The other thing, and this is what makes me unpopular as a capitalist, the other thing we need to do is figure out how to get money. Because as long as they're being driven for clicks, they're just going to tell. I mean, because, I have a local guy here that I listen to, who I've gotten to know a little bit, who actually teaches journalism at University of Oklahoma. And the first thing he said is, we've had to go back in and revamp the entire program. The first thing I have to tell every single person that's in my beginning journalism classes is stop trying to be first. You have to be right before you can be first. They stopped teaching that at some point.
Well, I haven't heard that for a long time.
It's all about the clicks. And that's part of the problem. We're going to have to figure out how to undo that. We need to get back to the point where the media is in the business of telling the truth, not just seeing who can get the most outrageous story clicked on first.
Yeah, no, that's right. I was thinking about you when you were working in the Reagan Bush White House. I imagine there was a lot of substance in those news releases. As opposed to now, where you're just trying to get this quick hit headline. But in those days, and I was around too, but certainly not in the White House. Reporters were looking for stories. They were fact checking. They were looking for substance in things, and apparently people stopped being interested in that. I mean, do you see the major difference between then and now, Liz?
Well, I was going to say, it's funny. In those days, an embargo was an embargo. The reporter would sit on a story for 48 hours if it was embargoed, or 6 hours, and one story would be analyzed, developed, talked about, and reported on. And I think the flip side of that was that the people holding office were then held accountable in a way that never happens now. I find this is almost mutually, I think it can serve the electeds and the reporters. It serves their own interests by this manic cycle. And by that I mean, people who are, you're a congressman, you're not getting anything done, you're happy to change the conversation every 10 minutes. And your reporter is just trying to feed your beast, you're happy to change it every 10 minutes. And it's almost, so somebody here has got to step in and say, wait a minute, and change entirely how we're going about doing this, because we're, back to, one of the things we'll be talking about a lot, which is term limits. We're electing the same people over and over again, despite the lack of enthusiasm, support, or confidence in the people we're electing. It doesn't make sense. And a lot of this, we're going to have to turn to reporters and Rick, you and all the journalism students that were the next generation that we're raising, and really remind everybody that that's really what's at stake here is making sure the journalists are doing their job, being journalists, and a big part of that is holding people accountable who have essentially assumed the mantle of the public trust. And you just look, you can't even call these people liars anymore because they're really just they love, plenty of them are, don't get me wrong, but mostly this has just become a big game. And like you said, Billy, it just spin all day long like a top, a video game. And it's happening on both sides, and I don't know who's going to step in, but maybe it'll be the voters eventually. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
it's hard because
I think...
Sorry, Rich.
No, go ahead, Bill. It's all right.
No, I was going to say it's hard because the journalists, to their defense a little bit, is they're writing what people want to see, and they're writing, like you said, it's all about clicks. And I don't know how common it is. I know one of the newsrooms, a daily newspaper chain that everybody would know, they have a board up in their newsroom, electronic board, which is which story is getting hit the most at this hour. And the journalists sit there, and if they wrote something at number 3 or number 7, then they're in trouble. They get to the top of the board, and they know what gets clicked. And that, that's exactly right, Rick. Is you're talking to journalism students. For them to be marketable, for them to be competitive, and for them to succeed, they got to be at the top of that board. And how do they do it without being sexy? That's it's a hard thing.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys are talking about how we get back there. I think how we get back there are shows just like the one that you guys are about to start doing, because you guys just said you're gonna be topical, but at the same time you're gonna drill into things a little bit more, talk about things that other people aren't talking about. That's the joy of new media, because those of us that are trying to turn it into at least being able to make a living, but I'm not. I mean, like me personally, I'm not looking to be the next Sean Hannity or anything else. I would love to get this to the point where I'm doing it every day and it's paying my bills. That's the extent of what I'm looking for, though. I'm not looking to get rich. I want to be able to bring new people into media and get people that understand that we need to change, and the only way to change them is from the inside out. I've been doing this now in between the different mediums that I've done this on for nearly a decade. People didn't even really start knowing who I was until 3 years ago, because nobody cared, because I wasn't trying to be sensational and I wasn't out trying to look for clicks. I was out trying to tell people this is what I think. The scary thing is, and I said this to a guy that used to do a show with me called Finding Common Ground, there were things that we started talking about 7, 8, 9 years ago when we first started doing that show that are happening now, and he didn't believe me. And he's like, you were right the whole time. I'm like, I told you that 9 years ago. Yeah. But anyway,
you were the one, Rick, you were the one that got me interested in podcasts, Rick. Because I really didn't listen to podcasts, and then I started, after talking to you and a little bit before, I was aware of your show. There's a difference. You can hear that there's real people talking in podcast shows. It's not WABC. It's not all polish. It's real people with real concerns, with real lives that have real perspective, and it's a different thing. You can hear it right away, and I fell in love with it. It's real people talking.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's what AM radio was 20 years ago. Is really what podcast is now.
I think that's right.
Right, and it's actually even with I would say that sports. There's a lot of sports radio that's still like that now. I'm always amazed that for 4 hours every single day, a couple of sports hosts can analyze one baseball player or one pitcher meltdown or something over and over and over again. You don't have that in news. It's because it's every 10 seconds or something new, or not new. It just change. The conversation changes because of one tweet. But in sports, it happens. So I actually think we should be encouraged, because the fact that podcasts are becoming so much more popular, they're growing, is a very good sign. It shows that there's an appetite for the kind of stuff we're talking, the conversation and the dialogue and debate and actual and serious thinking that we need.
And I agree.
And it's not all flock mentality. You find, I know when the internet started to explode, I thought, I was working in public relations, and I thought, great, there's going to be a million new outlets so I can place my stories and not lose my clients. And what happened is fewer things got covered. Everybody just flocked to the same stories. And like you said, Rick, it was get there as fast as you can and make it as hot as it can be. And that's what worked. But we started talking about fewer things instead of more. And I think this medium helps people talk about things that they're interested in depth. And I think that's a great service.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about podcasting is you manage to find a way to build your own niche. And people don't really, because everybody's trying to get to as many people as they can. I'm not really, I mean, don't get me wrong, I syndicate all over the place, but I'm not looking to basically take over the world as far as a radio show or even a podcast. I'm looking to get as much out to as many people as I can who are willing to listen. So one of the ways that podcasting is great is because it allows you to tailor your content to the people that you're looking for. So if you have a general idea of the type of audience you're looking at reaching, like, I mean, you guys have done this type of stuff for a long time, so you probably have a general idea in your head about the people that you're wanting to target when your show starts. We can find ways to drill down to reach those particular people and then go out from there, which you can't really do in regular radio because you don't get the type of feedback and stuff that you get from the platforms that we can put stuff on. I can drill down and find out exactly where people are listening, who's listening the most, what their age brackets are, what their income is. You don't get that with radio because the only way you can get that is to pay for Arbitron, which is expensive. It only does like half of what the stuff that we can do.
Well, and Rick, I think Billy's point to you, Rick, earlier, I think, too, it's just a much more personal relationship with the listener. When you've developed this relationship, it's like, you know, a good book, or some, you know, people, your very loyal following knows what to expect from you. There's a level of integrity here, and you treat them with respect. It's very much of a two-way street there, and that's just very different from radio.
I would agree.
Billy, I'd love to hear what you think can happen with Twitter, and if you think that Twitter is going to become less influential and less significant in the day-to-day news cycle.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and Rick, your take may be more informed than mine, but it's just it's funny how Twitter and Facebook diverge into two very, very different things. And I know Maggie Haberman from the Times, who Liz and I both work with, has stopped using Twitter today, or just she's going to post articles, but that's about it. And you've seen a lot of other people who've done that as well. But it really has become more, to a large extent, an angry platform, at least on the political side, where Facebook has developed into something very different, more of a really effective delivery system for information. I mean, both do their own things. And I know Twitter's doing some live feed things now, but it's I don't know where it ends. I don't know where it ends up, but it's definitely changed politics. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't win without Twitter. There's no question. Other people haven't been able to use it as effectively as he has, but it's the sugar, that's pure cane sugar. Twitter, it's just it's lightning, it's fast, it's what we talked about before. There's speed, and but it's also there's a lot of raw emotion to it, a lot of anger in it. So whether that starts to burn out or whether that change, maybe the culture changes. Maybe, which does happen as technologies mellow and get older, they begin to get a different feel to them. And maybe that happens with Twitter. I'm not sure, but it's definitely a very different platform than Facebook. I use it all the time for candidates I work with and for clients I have, and to post columns and that kind of thing. So you can get out there fast, but it is interesting watching them diverge. I'd love to get your take on it, Rick, because you live in that world even more than I do. It's like how you see the platforms.
Yeah, I mean, basically, when you're trying to build something from the ground up, you live and die through social media. So, I mean, we started with Facebook. Facebook got really heavy into censorship. So, at one point, I begrudgingly went over to Twitter. Twitter and I were not friends. I had an account since like 2012. It took me like 3 years to figure out how to use Twitter because it was so much different than Facebook. But at first, Twitter was awesome because there wasn't the censorship. There wasn't the, oh my God, you can't say this word, you can't say that word, you're going to get suspended. And it was an easier, quicker way to reach people. And what was honestly one of the best things about it, and people hated it, was the fact that you had such a limited amount of characters available to get your point across. Now they've found ways to soften that up because now you can chain tweets together, you get longer character counts, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But it actually kind of forced you to stop and think sometimes about what it was that you were tweeting, because you would be like on this big tear and then the thing would go red and you were like, great, now I got to figure out what really doesn't matter and go back and do it again. And it was a way to kind of make you have to stop and think. But now you're right. I mean, Twitter's become like, I call it get off my lawn Twitter, which is basically political Twitter. Because right now it doesn't matter what side you're on. You're yelling at the other one, get off my lawn. because that's what it is. I mean, it's just angry people yelling at each other, and it doesn't fix anything. I mean, there are cliques with Twitter, and I have friends on Twitter that I've met, and we've gone and done CPAC and stuff together, and we've gotten to the point where I consider them family. So I would probably not put down Twitter for as long as it existed, but I really only, other than connecting with those few groups that I have, I use it mainly to promote shows and make fun of crazy liberals that want to bring us socialism.
But it works. I mean, that's how I discovered the Federalist Party of America, was through Twitter. I was watching their messages, saying these guys are very interesting. I liked what I was hearing, and it's a really powerful tool. There's no question about it. I mean, you can move things out there fast, and I actually think that Liz, your first question, I think it's maybe even toned down a little bit in the last year and a half or so. It was so hot and nasty during the 2016 election. It was just whoa, boom, and I found myself into pretty good fights over nothing. And eventually you start to learn that, hey, everybody's watching you when you're fighting on Twitter, And sometimes you can look like a jerk and you think you're in the right always. So maybe it does change in time and mellow, but it's also to watch, and maybe we're used to it now, but watch, everyday citizens interacting with some pretty big figures, You could see like a Sean Hannity arguing with some guy walking down the street with a cell phone, and they're going back and forth, and they're on equal grounds for a minute. That's kind of cool. That's the cool part of social media.
That is honestly one of the best things about social. I will admit that. I've been in arguments with Sean Hannity. I've been in discussions with Dana Loesch. I mean, it really is an equal. Now, it's a lot harder to get their attention than it used to be, because now the blue checks have the ability to filter out where the only other people that they see are blue checks, and a lot of them have done that. So
right,
but
right. I didn't even realize that. That's interesting.
Billy, do you think it's well, I wanted to ask if you think it has the same influence or critical effect for local candidates as state candidates as it does for national candidates. I mean,
I think not at all. Not at all.
None. Yeah. I probably agree.
I Facebook definitely. Facebook is it, and I was a latecomer to Facebook and politics, and it's it's a huge influence on elections. But Twitter, I see more as a vehicle to communicate with reporters and other politicos. Where if I want Rick Robinson to see what I'm doing, I'll throw it up on Twitter. Or if I want to see, the news world. But it's really, to me, it's a link machine a little bit. It's more about it's the fastest way to move material for people that are interested to hit it. Where Facebook is a little bit more considered, and part of it's right. I think Rick is to get more language in Facebook. You have to get more nuance. It's softer. Twitter forced us all to. The 140 characters made us all, New York Post headline writers. It's just like punchy. Everything's got to be. It's funny. Sometimes I'm writing regular prose for a letter or something, and I'm leaving out little modifiers because I'm so used to Twitter. With the twos and the does and all that stuff.
Thank God, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I'm doing tonight with without G's and H's, and it's it can screw with your brain, but it's definitely a different kind of system, and it's I guess it has its place. I mean, I use it 100 times a day, so it works.
Yeah, I was working on a report for work the other day and caught myself writing the number 2 NIT. I'm like, no, that can't be that way. Not on this.
Well, that's interesting. Like, 20, 30 years from now, does that happen? You look at the Oxford English Dictionary, and it's pretty thick, and it's getting thicker by the minute. It's does that happen? Does Daniel Webster collapse and alternative spellings take over in a real way?
Daniel Webster's already turning over in his.
That's right. He's supposed to be a jerk anyway, so you could, I'm sure his wife loved him.
Somebody did anyway. All right, so we've got about 2 minutes left. Any last topics you guys want to hit on?
No, I could say
anything on the news of the day.
No, I was going to say for a media release, we'd love people to tune in. We're going to be beginning in a few weeks. It's we're going to be Mondays at 10, and we're really hoping to have real conversations with people, and I'm excited about it. I hope you are too, Liz, but I know you are.
Oh, I couldn't be more excited. And Billy and I have been talking about trying to do something new together for the last couple of years, and Lord knows I didn't want it to be another campaign. So the timing is great. And we're really looking forward to doing what you do, Rick, which is developing a relationship with the people who tune in. And hopefully, we'll be able to engage them in a way that keeps them thinking and involved and also optimistic about where we're headed. Because we're not, as I said earlier, we're not doing this so we can get on and complain all day. We have a lot to learn from each other and from everybody else. And so we're going to try to keep it a great mix of the news of the day and current events, but also just talk about life and what's going on and what's going on with the next generation and what's going on around the world. And we'll see if we can put our collective experience and our many miles that we have underneath our respective belts to work.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to having you guys here. In case you've just tuned in, you've been listening to an interview with the hosts of For Immediate Release that'll be joining KLRN Radio in August. If you're just now tuning in, where have you been? Just kidding. But you hear in just a minute, this will be up as a podcast. You can check it out then. If you are just now tuning in, trust me, it'll be back up again in a few minutes. Want to thank my guests again, the host of For Immediate Release, and it's been a pleasure having you guys. We will have you on again really soon. We want to give you guys as much exposure as we can before you launch. And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Friday night. Thanks for